Middle-earth. Orcs. Small skinny man holding onto his hairline for fear of losing his youth. And a scarred up ghost. Interested? Oh, you are? Oh, lovely. And how coincidental I just happened to be starting a Lord of the Rings Middle-earth series right here, right now, on YouTube, for you to enjoy. Shadow of Mordor is one of those games I think about often, really. Most of the time, very fondly. I remember branding orcs, and bending their will to meet my needs, and chasing Gollum through Mordor as he leads us to treasures to help us figure out who this ghostly wraith is that is with us. I even remember the disappointment I felt at the, you know what? Let's leave that memory for a minute. Shadow of Mordor is a game that I remember quite well and quite often. So that's why I thought it would be a perfect candidate for my As I Remembered series, and the first installment in my Lord of the Rings series. So let's get into it. Oh, you're new to the channel? Let me tell you what the series is about. In the As I Remembered series, we go back and we play games from years past to see if they hold up to our memories of that game. We all have a game we fondly or not so fondly think of, and I'm always curious to know, is that the case? Is it as we remembered? So rather than wonder, we go back and we actually play the game again. We then break down that game mission by mission, quest by quest, to see if it matches what we remembered that game to be. Now, these are breakdowns of the entire game and not a review of the game, though we may talk about game mechanics that are faulty or good, or things that we like or don't like. We are not actually reviewing the game, and if we were actually reviewing the memory we have of the game. We have been pleasantly surprised before, and we've been very let down before. So let's get into the As I Remembered Shadow of Mordor. What is Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor? Well, it's a video game from 2014 set in the universe of the Lord of the Rings and takes place after the events of the Hobbit and before the events of the movies that we now know and love. Though, with that being said, Talion, the character we play as throughout our playthrough, is not canon to either franchise story. Though he is fascinating and well fleshed out character, he sadly actually means nothing to the overall story of The Lord of the Rings. Though, to get to know Talion and his story, we should probably start at the beginning, as well as at the beginning of our playthrough. Now, before we get started, hold on. In every review, I like to do my pandering at the beginning so we don't have to do it again throughout the rest of the video. So, these are long-form, heavily scripted and edited videos that take a great deal of time to play, edit, and narrate. So if you could be so kind as to leave a like, drop a comment, and maybe consider subscribing, that would go a long way to letting me know that you guys enjoyed this kind of content. All right, pandering is done, so let's get into the nostalgic playthrough. The game starts at the menu. I know, crazy, right? Here we get to select our story, our difficulty, and start our adventure. Immediately upon selecting our difficulty, we get what every ASMR streamer sounds like to me, a distant voice whispering to us.
In the land of Mordor, where the shadows lie. It was here, on the slopes of Mount Doom, that the Dark Lord Sauron was defeated by a last alliance of men and elves. It is here that for 2,500 years the Rangers of Gondor stood watch, guarding against a nameless threat they had all but forgotten. And while the strength of Gondor faded, the power and the malice of Sauron grew in darkness. He has returned to Mordor. Shadow and flame have fallen on the Black Gate, and no mortal man can stand in its path.
That is a perfect swing for killing chicken. Wouldn't want to hurt you. It'll take a lot more than that. Dear Hyle, the mighty chicken killer. Come on. Come on. Show your father what you have, huh?
We join Talion while he goes between the memories of him and his family and where they are now and where they were. It's a great way of showing us the moments between living and dead, his happy moments and his sad moments, leading up to where he is now. The first memory we play through is him training with his son on the ramparts, though it will quickly turn into the moments before Talion's death, and we go from happy training session to rain-soaked battle for our lives. It's an amazing transition.
Your enemy will not always be as he appears. Easy, son. You're not a soldier yet. I'll have your I'm all right.
My blade shall rest in your throat.
Dear Hyle, remember your training!
This is also a great way to do a tutorial. It does not break up the action for the training. It allows the action to continue the story while we learn. We get to learn something and then immediately put it into practice, while also continuing the story. It doesn't halt it in any way. So Talion and his son fight back until we get the next cutscene.
These orcs are much stronger than any we've ever seen.
They're not orcs, they're lyrics. They're far worse. There's too many. Go find your mother. Go find your mother. Keep her safe. I'll be right behind you. Go. Am I dead?
You are banished from death.
Once again at death's door, Talion is on the plains of the death as a phantom tells him he is banished from death. And then Talion sees his now dead wife. This is a great way to tell a story with very little word, do a tutorial, and progress the story all at once. The memory then switches to a happy memory, where we sneak up on our wife and we give her a rose, a flower. We learned the sneak mechanic, did something nice, and now we get to implement it, because once again, it switches to a bad memory where him and his wife are trapped inside, I'm going to call it the chapel, and there's 3 orcs that we now have to stealth kill.
I still have a few friends left in Gondor.
Did you talk to my father?
Yes, I did. And nothing has changed. He's still very stubborn.
I say we go anyway.
Dear, I will not come willingly.
There must be a better life than this.
Not now. But soon.
I'm just so tired of hiding here, Talion.
We must hide now, or we are both dead. Come on.
While we kill these orcs, I have to say this is an amazing way to do a tutorial. It's an amazing way to open a game, and it's an amazing way to give you a lot of substance, a lot to grab onto and hook you without making it so much dialogue. We already know Talion's fighting for his life and he's trying to save his family without knowing what is actually going on. We know that this is a life and death situation. Really good job here.
Put the sword down, Ranger. The Black Hand wants him alive. Take her! He will live.
We'll be together, my love. Soon. Forever.
Come back to me, Elf Lord.
What is this place?
See for yourself. Now, do you believe me, Ranger?
What has happened to me?
You are banished from death. Cast adrift between the worlds of light and dark. Curse binds us together within the walls of Ardar.
If what you say is true, then how do we break this curse?
We find the one who cast it on us. The Black Hand of Sauron.
Welcome to Middle of Earth, Shadow of Mordor.
This looks familiar.
We then strike the anvil, signifying the start of the game and our plight through Mordor. Also, that cutscene was phenomenal. The cutscenes in this game are phenomenal. Talion will then leap from the tower, and we are once again worked seamlessly into an archery tutorial. This should be the golden standard for tutorials. Well, at least the framework should be. A tutorial should push the story and move it along while teaching you new skills, not halting you to teach you how to open a door where it pauses and you have to read a text dump. Devs, if you're going to do it this way, then do it this way, but don't do it the way you were going to do it unless you were going to do it this way. Once we finish destroying the orcs with the bow we learn how to use, an orc will jump us and we will once again seamlessly be worked into a domination tutorial. Or branding later in the game. When it comes to tutorials, I would rather this style where it progresses the story than halts it. I know I'm drilling this home, but it needs to be said. A tutorial should always be working with the story, not pausing it to give you a text dump. Let me just talk to you guys for a second. We will have problems with this tutorial coming up. Just bear with me. Dominating an orc allows us to get information on orcs or other orcs. I'm going to mess up the orc and uruk thing throughout this entire video because some of them are orcs and some of them are uruks, and I don't really know how to distinguish the two other than a vague comment that Talion made at the beginning of the game saying, these aren't orcs, these are uruks. But then later they'll talk about orcs, so I don't know. Okay, don't at me about it. When you dominate an orc, you will get the information pertaining to an orc that you select off the battlefield, Solomon's army or whatever, Sermon's army. Also going to mess that up all game. Information like their location, their strengths, their weaknesses. It also plays a big part in this game's best known feature, the Nemesis system, but more on that later. So now we have our target, Gimub, the Slaver. We will head that way and address a few things along the way.
That is where we have to go.
If one can trust an orc.
Trust has nothing to do with it. His thoughts cannot lie.
The first thing I will address is that I will be collecting the side stuff off camera to save some time. There's collectibles scattered around the world to find and we will get them, but I will just do it. I'm not going to waste your time with me showing you every single location. I do record it, but if you want the video, I'm sure there's lots on YouTube. If something funny happens, I'll be sure to share it. Just know I am getting the collectibles in the background. Second, when it comes to challenges, I will also be doing these. I may show you one or two, but for the most part, I'll just do them. Otherwise, the nostalgic walkthrough / playthrough will be hours and hours long. There's a lot to unpack here, and I can tell you right now up front, it takes about 9 hours to do all the side stuff. So I'll just do that. Lastly, the towers, I have to do them. So I'm not going to waste your time by showing you me climbing, 27 towers or however many it is. Just know that they are being done. I only break these off from the video is not to bloat the video and leave us unable to focus on the story, which is what I want to focus on. I don't remember climbing the towers as a good memory. I remember the story as a good memory. So we do this to simply make it so the story is the main focus of the video. And all that other stuff is just filler missions and activities anyway. So let's get back to the game. There is a decent upgrade system, though it won't blow your mind or anything. You can upgrade Talion's Wraith form and his Ranger form, gaining abilities and powers along the way. Some of these powers, like Detonate, are incredibly useful, and you will use all the time, and others are kind of just there, and you will never use. For me personally, I never really mounted anything at all, besides when the game made me do it, or in the Lord of the Hunt DLC, so I didn't put any time into upgrading my mounting skills, because when you do the DLC, you just get it. So there is an upgrading system. I'll be upgrading along the way, but I'm not going to waste your time either. There is then also the rune system where you can put runes on your sword, dagger, and bow, increasing its damage or status effect. You get different rarities of these runes by killing different rarities of orcs or oryx, and then you will also get better loot from getting the war chiefs. This is the looting system. It's all right. It doesn't really do much to me. I didn't really change my stuff too much. I'm sure somebody out there min-maxed the hell out of this and knows the exact perfect ones. I just went with whatever I had at the beginning and just enjoyed my playthrough. We worked our way over to the location of the slaver, and once we get there, we get a seamless tutorial on how to raid an orc camp. It's crazy how the tutorial progresses the story. I've only said it 100 times.
Well, this doesn't bode well.
Don't you see? The prisoner created a distraction. Why use your human sight to track the Uruk? I see more than any mortal. Slay the orc captain, cut off the head of the snake, and the body will wither.
Archers. I must take out the eyes of the camp.
Of all the tutorials that have been up to this point, I can't stress enough the importance of this tutorial. These archers are sneaky little buggers. They hide and they'll catch you by surprise, and they will alert the entire camp and making your job 10 times harder. So when it says to take out the archers first because they are the eyes of the camp, always take out the archers first. We failed miserably here at taking it out with stealth, so then we ended up having to fight the entire camp anyway. But don't worry, we're one man with a ghost that can fight an entire army of orcs, so we made it out okay. But when this tutorial says take out the archers, always take out the archers, and later take out the hunters too. I will say the combat feels really good and impactful and is a joy to do. It's almost rhythmic and calming in a way. I've played many games where the combat just isn't there or becomes a chore rather than a feature, or where it becomes boring and they artificially inflate the challenge. So this is really good. It feels really good right now. I said right now for a reason. Okay, real quick, before we get into this captain fight, I want to say that before every captain, they will give this speech. At first, you're like, oh, wow, this is neat. But after a while, they will say the same thing, and you will start to get annoyed. And when they ambush you, and there's like 3 captains, and each of them has to give a speech right before fighting you, it starts to get really annoying. You will be begging for them to shut up by the end of the game. There is also this one more style of speech, but I want to wait to share it with you because it's so bad. It drives me nuts. So we jump down and we knock the captain over, triggering his speech. I'm going to show you guys this one. I'll cut out the rest of them.
Pity I have to kill you. You would make a strong slave.
The fight is pretty good. It's not overly challenging, but it's also not boring. It's just like the perfect mix. It reminds me of like the Mad Max game, though the combat was simple. It was very enjoyable and pleasing. Maybe I should do that video too. I love the Mad Max games. Watch for that one on the channel. We end up dominating the captain and gaining intel on another captain. This information can prove very helpful in killing your way to the Black Hand. So try to dominate as many captains and worms as you can throughout your playthrough. It also makes fighting the war chief a lot easier. After we literally pop the slaver's head off, we get our rune. As I said before, this is how you upgrade your gear by collecting these runes. I really didn't care that much. I didn't find that I needed to really focus too much on finding the best runes. If you do, that's great. I just didn't want to play through, and I'm being upfront about it now.
So you didn't die 10 years ago.
I take it you did not come here to arrest me for treason, Captain?
You and I are all that remains of that garrison, Hugo.
Then why did you come here?
I'm looking for a slave that fought the Black Hand of Sauron.
More like ran away from him.
You know this man?
Of course. You're staring at him.
Where are the servants of the Dark Lord? Do you even know?
Perhaps.
This is no time to keep secrets.
I have been stuck here for weeks. Steady. Come to the outcast camp. We shall ask my scouts.
I'll be there. It's just another orc.
No. Someone wants to be seen. We should tread with caution.
Oh, so we get to meet everyone's favorite little cave-dwelling bald ring enthusiast. Isn't that lovely? I struggle to define this game as an open world. Yes, it is open, but it's also incredibly linear. The open world is not very big, so it feels very closed off. A better way to describe it is one massive level with a bunch of little sub-missions inside of it. While exploring, captains will ambush you out of nowhere and attack you, which does make the world feel more lived in. It can be exceptionally hard when you're not expecting an attack at the early stages of the game. Then another captain might ambush you, and that fight takes a lot harder to do because now you gotta fight two captains with all their little minions. Also, remember when I said they always give a speech and that I didn't want to tell you what they do? Well, I can tell you now because it happens right now. Listen to this. Isn't that lovely? Moving on from that awesomeness. Now, as you saw, I just died, and that triggers the Nemesis system to take over. The orc that killed you will then get a promotion in their army, as well as a power level increase, making them a little bit stronger the next time you have to fight them. They also remember that they killed you. Then the ranks in which of the orcs you have killed will have to be refilled. Meaning, random orcs that have been out in the world are now going to get promoted and fill those spots. They usually start from the bottom up, and the ones that were in the bottom go to the middle, and so on and so forth. They rank up. They will also have different skills, weaknesses, strengths, and bonuses, and provide different levels of gear. You can see that by their orc level, legendary, epic, common kind of thing. It's a super cool system. What makes it cooler is, say you burn an orc, and then they flee. They get away. You couldn't catch them. The next time you see that orc, he will give you a lecture about how you burned him, and he needs to get you back. Grr, right? It's pretty cool. Now let's say an orc killed you. The next time you see them, they will boast how they killed you, and once again, they will do it again, and they will make it worse this time. It makes each death another notch in the story. It's really cool. When you die, you progress the story. I really liked this when I played through Hades, and it's really cool in this game too. When I die, I'm progressing the story. My death actually puts another note in the storyline, so that's really neat. Well, after our embarrassing death, we have to work our way back to the mission start point, all the while hoping that we won't get ambushed again. Thankfully, we do not get ambushed, and we get to start our first mission with Gollum.
What sort of road it hides in the shadows, I wonder.
Something of great power has left its mark on him. I sense it.
And you feel he has answers?
For both of us.
We should find him then.
It shouldn't be too difficult.
While we track Gollum's footprints, by the way, another seamless transition into the tutorial, I want to say that Gollum is one of those characters that everyone loves, but I don't understand why. Is he good? Is he evil? What is he? I don't even know. For me personally, Gollum is an anomaly. I like him, I hate him, He's just an odd creature. But when I think Lord of the Rings, I think Gollum. And then I think of the giant dragon. And then I think about how Gandalf has a thing for showing up at the last minute. We track Gollum following his glowing footprints, and if I'm honest, a way too elaborate path for this little guy to have taken to show us the way. Gollum has traveled up a mystical tower, so we need to climb that to unlock the map. So this is how you unlock more of the map. So we do that while we're at it. He has then weaved his way through a patrolling guards and worked his way into a cave. Well, that part fits Gollum's story, to be honest with you. In the cave, we find a treasure. Ooh.
What manner of spell is this?
A lost Talion.
You remember? A few broken images, yes. And now I wish that I didn't. Your family was...
Perhaps that pain is what connects us.
That's it, Captain! What do you want?
I'll explain these treasures in a minute. We once again get a brief tutorial on how to kill Caragors. I'm going to call them steroid cats. The way that they weave the tutorial into the gameplay is so good that I want to give it my highest praise for that, and that's the last time I'm going to say it. Okay, moving on. Talion dispatches the Caragors and then the hunters, and then we go to find our balding friend.
He will remember Precious. We will make him. Yes. We must have it back. We must have it. Quiet. Quiet, Precious.
Think you could sneak up on me so easily, eh?
No, don't hurt us.
What does he know of it?
Bright Master. Yes, we know. Bright Master came to us in our dreams.
You see.
Precious. It showed us. It showed us treasures of the Bright Master.
No more riddles.
Yes, we swore. We swore to serve the Bright Master. We take him to his treasures.
I do not trust him.
But we need him. Do you not wish to know who I am?
Can I be honest? If Talion was not already dead and possessed by a phantom, he is definitely dead now because he got bit by that disgusting mouth Gollum has. It's gotta be a very, very dirty mouth. As always, I leave the cutscenes in so you get the story the way that the developers intended it, and then you get to hear my narration of what I perceive the story to be. It's a great way for you to get the contrast between what they intended and what I thought I saw or felt, or, you know, where I came from. That's why there's always the full cutscenes for you guys to watch. The treasure we find throughout the world will help us piece together exactly who the wraith is that is hanging out with us. This works with us and against us because we have to do a lot of collectibles to get the story, but it helps us learn who exactly the wraith is. Only certain items, they're called visual artifacts or vision artifacts, will actually push the story and get an actual cutscene that tells you what's going on. The rest are just simply collectibles with a brief story that you have to read. I'm not going to read them all to you. We're just going to focus on the vision artifacts. I said I'd show you guys a challenge, so here's one right now. We're doing one in the fighting pits within the fortress. We have to kill 50 orcs. Now, this is not hard, it's just actually time consuming. Though it does give me the perfect opportunity to talk about the secondary objectives that are within our missions. These are just secondary objectives that we have to do. It doesn't change the story if you do it or not, but in this one we have to get a hit streak of 100. If we get a hit streak of 100, we'll get an extra 50 experience. Woo! After the mission. If we don't do it, we just don't get 50 experience. It changes literally nothing. So don't stress yourself if you don't do it. But if you're a completionist, get ready for this, and that's why I tell you about it. After 8 literal minutes of fighting, we complete the challenge. We get our reward. Ooh, look at that. 400 XP and 250 money. Plus, we did do the secondary objective, so we got our extra 50 money in this one. Worth it? Probably not, but it is what it is. All right, so I ran around and I did all the side stuff. I gathered the collectibles. I did the challenges. I even gathered the lost pieces, and in total, it took me about 3 hours to complete this stuff. You're watching a very sped up version of that. I don't mind doing collectibles in games as long as they're not ridiculously hard to get, like in Forza Horizon 5, where you have to like jump your car perfectly off of a rock at the exact speed in order to collect one of the parts. That's very annoying. I also don't mind doing collectibles if they're not like a ridiculous amount of them to get. There's nothing worse than having to collect like 5,000 flowers or something like that. In this game, it's a good moderation of them. And as for challenges, those are fine too. They really don't do anything for me personally, but in my first playthrough, I did all of the challenges in the Shadow of Mordor. So I have to do that to keep the authenticity of this playthrough, which is kind of sad because some of them were really boring. For instance, the fighting pit one I just showed you. So what you've seen up to this point took me 45 minutes, and then the side stuff took me 3 hours roughly. So we're about 3 hours and 45 minutes into the game, and we're still doing tutorials. That's okay, as long as it's good. With all the side work done, we can get back to the main stories, which is what we're here for, and getting through Talion's story and maybe reuniting him with his wife and son in the afterlife. We start the Spirit of Mordor quest by talking to an orc named Ratbag, who happens to be tied to a spike.
Ranger, come close if you want the backhand. Those slave scum are pouring poison in your ear. Oh, but you cut these ropes. Ratbag will tell you everything.
Now, what would you know that all these other dead orcs didn't?
Go ahead, you bastard! Do it! I'll die, and you'll know nothing!
Maybe I'll grant your request. End your miserable life.
No. I was just look, those slaves are no match for the orc army. Their schemes as rotten as barrel fish. But Ratbag can teach you the ways of the orc. Ratbag can make your plan work.
We're going to find out what you know.
Your problem, Ranger, is the war chiefs. Strong leaders they are. Now, if something were to happen to them, then they wouldn't be able to stop your little insurrection, would they?
I would hunt them down.
How? They're not very popular around here, and they know it.
But you can find them.
Oh, yes. Ratbag will show you the way. You help me, I help you.
Do not make me regret this deal.
Marvelous. Now let's stop faffing about, huh? First, I need to take care of a certain captain and a few caragors. Come with me, Ranger.
I personally really like Ratbag. From my first playthrough and even this playthrough, his personality, his jokes, he actually adds a lot of overall feel to the world of Mordor. That these aren't simple orcs or urks we're killing. They actually have an actual life and personality. They're not just nameless people. Well, nameless orcs. You feel like everything that exists in Mordor is simply there to survive. And Ratbag's one of them. So he's willing to turn on his own kind to simply survive, which makes the world feel even more alive somehow. It also shows you that no one is trustworthy if somebody's willing to turn on their own people. Alright, if you watched my videos before, I hate follow quests. So let's get it out of the way now. If you've watched my videos before, you know the spiel I'm about to go on. Okay? Let's get it out of the way. Follow quests suck. Chase quests or follow quests at a different speed. And if you have to carry or move something that is just a follow quest with hard labor at the end of it. Alright? They always suck. Though, to be fair, at least in Shadow of Mordor, they let you auto-walk beside whoever you're following, so you actually get to listen to what they're saying rather than trying to walk at the awkward pace that they set. But follow quests still suck. Oh, and in this game, just to add a little bit of spice, they constantly make you follow people's footprints, which is still a follow quest. You just don't see who you're following. Let's move on. Follow Ratbag until you get ambushed by shield guys. Now, if you have not done 3 hours of side activities, and this is your first time playing through this game, this will be also your first run-in with shield orcs. Now, shield orcs are incredibly annoying if you have to fight them, and you don't do what I'm about to say. The quickest way to dispel shield guys is to shoot them right in the head as soon as you can. Freeze time, shoot them in the head, and then you move on. If not, you're going to have a very long, drawn-out fight with these guys. Okay? You'll be surprised at how often you can't get a headshot on them. So if you can take the shot, take the shot. Now, once you finish destroying the ambush, well, Ratbag screams for them to kill you because you've set him free and he wants to be re-imprisoned because, like I said, no one can be trusted in the world of Mordor. I don't know if this is just Mordor, but no one can be trusted wherever we are, okay? Now, I'm going to let you guys listen to Ratbag so maybe you guys can, get an appreciation for him like I have. So, enjoy a little stroll with Ratbag.
You think I should open those pens?
Gorov's always in there. Never leaves, ever. Wonder where he pees. Oh, that explains the smell.
Keep out of sight. I'll see that your captain gets demoted.
This whole Ratbag mission is just a long tutorial on how to exploit captains' weaknesses against them. Okay, for instance, the captain we are currently hunting for is literally scared of Caragors, yet is in charge of the Caragor pens, where we are right now. Remember, Ratbag said that he never leaves the Caragor pens, except for he's not here this time. Of course he's not here, to drag it out a little bit more.
This looks like a good spot to get some shut-eye. Goroth will kill you if he catches you napping. Goroth never comes here. He's always by the hunting camp.
Goroth's in the hunting camp. So much for him always being in the same place.
So now that we know that the captain is at the hunting camp, we head over there and find the captain hanging around the Caragor cages that he's so scared of. Interesting. So we shoot the entrance of the cage, breaking the cage door and allowing the Caragor to come out. It comes out of its cage, charging at the captain, sending the captain into a fit of fright, where he runs away, allowing us to kill him easily. This is how you use the captain's weaknesses to take down their defenses, which then makes them easier to kill. Now, if you're like me, you don't mind the challenge, so I didn't often use the captain's weaknesses because fighting them is also a joy. And I found that using their weaknesses often took away from their power and the feel of the fight, because you're not actually fighting them, you're just fighting the frightened version of them, which is the weaker version of them. Now, this is just a way I looked at it. You don't have to look at it this way. You paid your money, man. You do you. Hold up, I got something to say quickly. Then we got to get back into these missions. What we essentially just did was solve a power struggle between Ratbag and this captain. When we kill the captain, we solve the power struggle, and that allows Ratbag to move up through the ranks of the army. You can do this with any random orc you find, Uruk, whatever, out in the world. You can take that little grunt orc Uruk thing, and we can get him to go into a power struggle, and we can rank him up throughout the army. It's a fun way to manipulate the army to do what you want it to do. You can take the weakest guy and make him a war chief. You can take the strongest guy and make him lose to a weak guy. You can really do whatever you want. It's incredibly fun, and I would highly recommend you do it as well. For the sake of this playthrough, we're only going to focus on what we have to do. But trust me, I go back every once in a while and make these orcs do what I want. I am their leader. Okay, so with that out of the way, back to the story mission with Ratbag. I like how in this game we get to see the orcs' personalities shine through, where in the movies they were just very much drones. They didn't do anything. They just kind of went about their day until they had to fight, and that's all they did. Here we get to see them interact with each other. And it makes these cutscenes with, Ratbag and the bigger, stronger orcs really kind of cool and fun to watch, because Ratbag's so weak and meek, and they're so strong, and they just don't trust each other. You can tell the orcs don't like Ratbag because of how he's built. He's not strong, so they don't have respect for him. Another cool feature in this game is that the captains that you kill and don't kill and let live will then change what these random orcs that are milling about are talking about. They will talk of your exploit. If you ride a Caragor into a camp, they will talk about how the Grave Walker rode a Caragor into a camp. They will also talk about how, oh, you branded my friend, and the Grave Walker branded my friend and let him live, and now he's not the same. They will talk of what you're doing in the world, which makes it so much cooler. It makes you feel like Talion and you are an actual part of this world, rather than Talion just doing a bunch of stuff in the world while no one takes notice of it. The orc, they take notice. Our next mission has us working with our old balding friend Gollum. It's fascinating how Gollum/Smeagol is in every single Lord of the Rings book or story or movie that I've read so far. He is in The Hobbit, he's in the Middle-earth games, which take place after The Hobbit, as well as in the Lord of the Rings movies, which take place after the Middle-earth games. I'm sure he shows up in other stories as well that I have not watched or read yet, but I'm still puzzled as to why people like him. Hell, I'm puzzled as why I like him. When I think Lord of the Rings, I think Gollum. So I don't know. Do you guys like Gollum? Let me know. Also, how old is Gollum? Like, he was old and gross in The Hobbit. He's old and gross here. And he's old and gross in the Lord of the Rings 3 movie franchise. So how old is this guy?
Desecrate one more body and your corpse will join them.
Show me another treasure from your dreams.
Yes. We will prove ourselves, bright master. We will prove we are friends.
Take us to it.
Yes. Come. This way. Come on. Must follow us, bright master, to the treasures we go.
So, we once again have to follow Gollum, though this time, we must sneak with him as we work our way through the orc camp. Gollum will get us to kill archers, or as he likes to call them, nasties or sharpsies. We follow Gollum as he sings of the Bright Master and how he needs the Bright Master to show Gollum where the precious is, the precious being the ring. We then have to follow Gollum's footprints through the orc camp. This is a reoccurring theme of following things. The mission before this, which I didn't record for some reason, had us following Hirgon as we freed slaves. And then you've already seen me follow a bunch of other things up to this point. So if you don't like following things, don't play this game. We find a vision artifact and we get a pretty insane cutscene at the end of those footprints. Enjoy.
It is so fine a gift.
What a gift. But where is the place?
Little thing! Come here! Talion!
Release him.
Why do we chase these dreams? They offer no answers, only more questions!
These are not mere dreams. With each vision, my power grows stronger.
Still looks after us. Ranger should go now. Very dangerous here. We wait at the ancient tower for him.
We then get ambushed by the most easily annoying enemy in this game, and that's Ghoul. They are not hard by any standard. They are not strong. They are simply annoying, and they attack you in massive amounts of number to fill time. They are the very definition of cannon fodder, as you can swing your sword easily and cut through tons of them with one swing. And then you use your power, and you will throw dozens of them aside with ease. I think they are just here to simply make you feel strong and that your power is getting more improved. After you defeat the last wretched ghoul, you have completed your mission and you feel better about yourself now. It may seem like I'm complaining about the missions. I'm not. I like the missions and I like the story a lot. What I don't like is lazy game mechanics. And when your mission keeps dissolving into follow X to person to Y location to then have a set piece, you start to feel a little bit like they didn't make you do it this way, that the story would be a lot shorter than it needs to be. Remember, follow quests always have a set pace in which you have to follow, which then means that you have a certain amount of time to get there. You ever wondered why a follow quest often is way too long? I have a great example of this in Assassin's Creed Brotherhood, where we followed a man for no joke, literally 10 minutes through the town, and it did nothing. Didn't push the story at all, did nothing to change anything. It was just 10 minutes of follow quest. That's what these are starting to feel like. It feels like we're padding time by making us follow a set distance to go. They will change this up here in a bit, but not to anything better. I'm just simply saying that the devs are controlling the pace of the game by making you do set tasks like following Gollum's footprints when the footprints take you way across the map every time. Or following Hirgon or Gollum as they walk a set pace, a set distance, and then a set speed. It's a great way to pad your game while people feeling like you're still playing the game. I personally feel like if we didn't have to follow him, we could have been well into the story by now. Before our next mission, we ran around killing some captains to weaken Solomon's army and his war chief. You have to do this every once in a while, as the captains will start to refill spots that you've already vacated, to put it in good terms. Or the orcs will solve their own power struggles and be promoted and demoted depending on how that power struggle went. It's cool that while you're out doing your thing, time's still passing in the rest of the world itself, and things are happening to progress the story there. Maybe there was an orc you were avoiding because he's weak, and then he went into the power struggle and is now stronger, and now you're going to have to deal with him anyway, right? Or maybe he was too strong, so you avoided him, and now he's even stronger. Sometimes an orc that you don't want to battle because he is too strong will get taken out by another orc that you can take out. It's a great way to make the world feel like things are actually happening in it. This game does a great job of that, and I have to stress that. Very few open world games make me feel like the world is actually lived in and not just a bunch of locations where NPCs mill about waiting for you to arrive. Once you arrive, they will then start doing their activities and talking and making noise. A few games have done this for me well. Personally, Mafia 1, though very linear, had a very well lived in city. You felt like you were in the city. You felt like the people that were around were living their lives, and you felt like each character you met had a long life before that you met them. They had stories to tell. They had memories to share. It felt very good. Mafia 2 is another great example of this. When Vito gets let off from the military and he shows up home, you get to see shops closing down and people talking to Vito about how he was a kid when he left and now he's an adult. You get to hear people breaking up. You're walking and toasters get thrown out of the windows because they're breaking up their boyfriend. It's so alive. That's why those two games are some of my favorite games ever. Shadow of War, Mordor, and Shadow of War and Assassin's Creed 2 also have that feeling that the world is lived in and the impacts that you're doing are having impacts on the world. If I kill Gregory the Orc, and Gregory the Orc is brothers with Stephen the Orc, then Stephen the Orc will come after me because I killed his brother, which is phenomenal. It makes me feel like I'm in the world and I get to get lost in a world rather than existing in a world and I can't be a part of it. Our next mission has us completing Ratbag's journey to the top and to becoming War Chief Ratbag. The cutscenes in this game are beautiful to say the least, and a great job at telling a story. I really kind of starting to wish, though, that there was more of this in the game and less cutscenes to tell us it. Feels like we're watching the story rather than playing the story at this point.
Hey, look, there's no need to freshen the wheels today. These birds are feeding plenty well as it is. Oh! You bastards! When I am War Chief, these birds will feast on your guts! Did you see that? Could you get me down? I'm all right. That didn't hurt at all. I know what you're thinking, Ranger. This was not my fault. I go to tell the chief that I've killed his bodyguard. He turns around, got the exact same face as the dead maggot I just killed. Twins. What are the odds of...
Just make sure you show up to take the place of the dead war chief.
But the war chief's not dead.
I'm going to go kill him!
Oh, good plan. I'll be right behind you. It works.
Once again, I cannot stress this enough. Ratbag is awesome. He's funny. He's well written. His voice actor is perfect. Though now that I say that I posted a video once and a guy commented on it saying that every orc is either a British accent or just has a deep voice, I can't unhear it. So that might be why I love Ratbag so much. Because once I read that comment, I can't help but hear that every other orc I run into just has a deep voice or is British. Nothing against the British. Lots against deep voice people. I want your voice. To get to the war chief to come out, we have to kill 2 berserkers for some reason. Simple enough. Once we kill 2 berserkers, the war chief will arrive, and the music will start chanting the chief's name over and over again. It's kind of intense, to be honest with you.
The pain of my twin shall echo within you.
Fighting the war chief is not hard. They simply just have more strength and more health and less weaknesses. We kill Mog, and we get Ratbag an epic cutscene.
Finally, Ratbag is war chief! Ranger, we did it!
Now honor our arrangement.
Oh, don't you worry. War Chief Ratbag will make sure nobody gets in the way of your dirty schemes. But Ratbag can't speak for the other war chiefs.
I wouldn't worry about them.
Could I borrow your... I need a sharper blade.
So with that, we've taken Ratbag from orc tied to a tree all the way to the top of the hierarchy as a war chief. It's actually super satisfying to have done, and it's even more so when you do it to a random orc rather than Ratbag. It feels kind of cool when you take just like the weakest orc you can find, Uruk, and you take him to the top, only to then defeat him. We really are masters of our own universe. We then now have access to the other war chiefs, so we run around killing them, because that's what you do in this game. For what you guys see in minutes, took me hours to do. But for the sake of both our times, I'll give you the short and sweet of it. In order to take out a war chief, you first have to take out the war chief's bodyguard, allowing us easier access to the war chief. You don't have to take out the bodyguards, though if you don't do it, then when you go to trigger the war chief to arrive, he will show up with his bodyguard, making that fight incredibly hard. Trust me, I accidentally triggered a war chief when I wasn't recording and had all his bodyguards arrive, and I got absolutely destroyed. Because then for every captain, there's extra orcs that bodyguard them. It turns into an absolute, for lack of a better term, crapshoot. Especially if they have hunters as the bodyguards, because they just stand out there and they throw spikes and they just keep calling in more and more reinforcements. It gets pretty hairy. Once you take out their bodyguards, you then trigger the war chief. Though we will focus on this final one who tried to flee. This is super annoying when they try to run away because they are much faster than you, and you simply just don't have the speed to keep up with them if you haven't unlocked the speed boost perk, which I recommend you do as fast as you can, because then you can hop over little rocks, hit a button, and you get a speed boost, allowing you to catch these orcs as they flee. And these orcs flee a lot, and if you lose sight of them, they just simply disappear. They don't just like go hide somewhere. No, they just poof, gone. And then you'll have to get them out of their hiding spot again. You'll have to redo the entire process you just did. So it's just easier to run away from the massive horde of orcs and chase down the one that fled. With all our war chiefs dead, I shall now tell you about the Outcast. As I said earlier, we did a mission where I didn't record with Hiragon. He's kind of like the Outcast leader, and he's kind of insanely boring, though he does provide us our first really good mission. The Outcasts are these little side quests you can do. Now, Hiragon gives you the story missions with the Outcasts, but there's a ton of Outcast side missions to do. These are little side missions that you get to do where you free 2 or 3 slaves from the orcs. Now, if as you freed these outcasts, you built them like an army against the orcs that you could use later in the game, it would be great. But no, you have to do these missions, you free them, and then they just disappear. There's zero impact to what they can do. Or if there is, the game does not tell you there's going to be an impact, like free all the slaves, and then they'll help you with your fight against the Black Hand. So as far as I know, they do nothing. So I thought at first that you were saving them to build an army against the orcs. You're not, so then I stopped doing it because there's so many. It's so time consuming that I just eventually gave up. This is a great example of sometimes less is more. I don't want to do 27 of the exact same mission to get 0 result out of it or an achievement. I would rather do like 12 missions and have it have an impact on the story. And I'll have a great example on why these outcasts should have had a purpose in about, I don't know, a few minutes. Our next mission has us meet our slime-toothed, greasy-backed friend Gollum. We need to figure out through Gollum and his ability to find artifacts who the Phantom/Wraith is that is hanging out with us and guides us on our journey.
Well, where is he? Your friend is either a liar or a coward.
Maybe it was you threatening his life.
Let's go find your precious treasure.
Oh, would you look at that? We're following footprints again, and even Talion seems to be annoyed by this. Now, I'm all for tracking, and I'm all for following footprints, but it's starting to annoy me to no end. When your development team's entire mission structure is to follow footprints, it makes Gollum sections super bullying, and it also takes this big character, Gollum, that everybody recognizes and loves and adores, and turns him into a chore to be around. Though this time, it takes us to a grog.
A grog. I need at least 20 men to bring that beast down.
Oh, then we must find another way.
I think I said that right. This mission acts as a tutorial on baiting foes, though by the time we figured this out, you probably have already done it many of times. Especially if you're like me, and anytime you see bait, you shoot it just to watch the Caragors come and destroy the orcs. So by now, you've already done it many times. The bait is super helpful in clearing camps, and as well as distracting enemies. Starting to run into the problem with the tutorials though, but we'll get to it in a minute. Once we shoot the bait, the grog will run over to it, the Caragors will attack it, and they'll start fighting. We then have to enter the cave and run through the ghoul-infested halls. Like I said, for an open world game, it also feels very linear because we keep getting trapped in these very, well, linear sections. At the same time, we knew the second we saw the grog and we had to go into a cave that we'd be having to run it or fight it. Either way, we knew we would be interacting with that grog the second we made it to the very end of the cave, because obviously that's where the vision artifact's going to be. Why? Because we've all played games before and that's the way they're structured. Once at the very back of the cave, we find the artifact. First, though, you have to follow all of Gollum's footprints around, which is super annoying because they couldn't just give us a direct path. I'm going to tell you the direct path, just head straight to the very, very back of the cave. There you go. Saved you some time.
Only you could accomplish such art, Celebrimbor.
Celebrimbor. Greatest smith of the Second Age. I'd heard the stories, but
I remember my name now. I shaped the history of Middle-earth. I crafted the rings of power. Fly, you fool.
Okay, so our phantom's name is Celebrimbor. Callie, we'll call him for short. The smith behind the Rings of Power. Kind of neat. It explains his power, it explains who he is, and why you immediately felt his presence, even though we're not Talion. We knew that this guy was important. And as we, as gamers, psychically figured out, we have to escape the cave while the grog chases us, and the ghouls run around us. It's supposed to be this epic thing, but because it's a tutorial on race blinking, that's what I call it anyway, it kind of just takes all impact out of this. We know we're going to succeed it because of the fact that it's a tutorial. Let me explain while we get chased by this grog giant thing. So what do I mean by we know it's going to be easy? It's fine to introduce skills throughout the game, but when the combat is already easy and the gameplay is already super casual, having a long tutorial that lasts the entirety of the game kind of cheapens the feel of it. Assassin's Creed games are very bad at doing this. They will keep teaching you skills throughout the entire game, which then lessens the impact of the game. Instead of the game feeling harder, it feels easier because you're constantly learning skills that fit that specific moment. Let me explain. We're running from a grog, and rather than having the impact of running from the grog and the first shock of being chased by this massive monster, instead we get a tutorial on how to blink away from it, how to teleport ourselves away from the danger constantly, which then takes away all impact of the grog. Second, because it's a tutorial, we know that it's going to be easier than if they had just made us run from the grog. Imagine if in Elden Ring, when you met that first boss at the beginning of the game, it gave you a tutorial on how to beat that boss. Instead of having that moment being like, oh my god, I died, I have to get better at this. Instead, you got a quick time event that helped you fix it. It would take the impact of that boss out. It also makes you feel like the entire game, you're never actually getting more powerful. They're just giving you tools to fix the problem in front of you. This game is actually one giant long tutorial. If you played all the story missions in a row, thinking you're doing the tutorial, you'd beat the game. All the actual story part is a tutorial. Everything else is just time filler on the side. Explain more on this throughout the breakdown, but this is what it is. It's a giant tutorial. Wait, hold up. Yeah, we just missed a cutscene. We're going to actually rewatch that because you need to hear this one. So sorry, you're going to have to watch the same footage twice, but we have to get what we have to say across, and we have to let the game devs get what they have to say across. So, without further ado, here's the cutscene you just watched without sound with sound. Enjoy!
Good riddance.
I'm the one responsible for all of this. That's why Sauron wants me.
No. No. Prime Master is good. He looks after us.
Shut your insolent mouth.
Nasty Ranger. He knows nothing of the Bright Master.
I know of his legend. How Sauron deceived you into making the rings. He tortured both you and your king.
And the precious. The Master makes it too. Where is it?
I have no memory of any such thing.
Why would it even matter?
The Master must remember. Yes, he must. We dig up more treasures. Yes. And then he will take us to it.
A game has to have a tutorial at the start of the game. Let's say the opening 10% for the sake of argument. And then throughout the game, they build on the skills that you learned in the tutorial. The challenges in the game mechanics are for the player to build off those skills. For example, I can scale a wall at the beginning of a game, then in the middle of the game, maybe I can leap up the wall. And by the end of the game, I can fast climb the wall. This is an example of building off a skill. In Shadow of Mordor, they just keep giving us new skills that fix the current problem we're having that we will never face again. This example is in the simplest form, but I think you guys get the point. I think we need to move on from my rant. I think it's time to continue. Once we escape the grog, which we knew we were going to do because it was a tutorial, we then have to draw out the black captains. These are the people from the beginning of the game. These are the people the war chiefs take orders from. These are the people that are responsible for killing Talion's family. Got it? Good.
You saw what these monsters are capable of. It is madness to stay here.
Yes, but circumstances have changed. Don't you see we have him on our side now?
Why would he want to help us? Weeks ago, he was our enemy.
Talion, ready to pick that fight?
I'd best take these bandages to the others.
Orcs are building a monument to honor Sauron. We have enough blasting powder to destroy it.
Fine. I'll take it and I'll finish this.
Not without me, you won't.
Thought your only concern was saving your wife.
So did I. Come on, let's go before I change my mind.
Remember that mission I said that we had to follow Hirgon? This is Hirgon. Personally, I don't care for Hirgon. He's kind of boring, he's kind of annoying, and I just don't like him. All we ever do is follow him and keep him alive while we do all the work to complete the mission. Though, spoiler alert, this mission gets pretty cool. We follow Hirgon to the cart with the grog on it. Not the big grog, the barrel grog. I know I'm saying it wrong, but that's how my brain remembers it. We'll be using this grog cart to blow up the Dark Monument, and it will once again break down into killing a bunch of orcs/Uruks, but it's fun, and I would rather that than be stressed out in a game like Modern Warfare 2. Once we secure the grog cart, we will then once again have to follow Hirgon, because same is different. So this time, we will be ambushed by a small little group of ghouls for some reason. Why? Because the game developers said, we need to make this feel a little bit longer, and we built these assets, and we need to use them a little bit more to justify the money we spent on the development team of the ghouls. Like, I'm going to leave our fight with the ghouls here in its entirety for you to watch. Like, just so you know how pointless this was.
Ghouls, you will pick the meat from our bones.
Now you tell me this was not we need to use this asset fight. Like, dude, that was pretty bad. All right, now guess what, guys? We then follow Hirgon. Yes, you heard that right. We follow him until we have to clear yet another encampment that is filled with Uruk that blocks the cart's path. I'm seeing a pattern form. While we do this, I want to talk about how much the game reuses locations. Now, this is not a bad thing. I like it because it allows us to connect to a location and build memories in that location. That way, when we revisit it later, we can be like, oh, I remember this, or oh, I did that there last time. It's a great way for us to build the world without building the world. It also allows us to learn the world. And like this location, we'll get really in tune with it because we've been here multiple times, so we might know a different way to attack this problem we're having at this location. It's a great way to build the world without building the world. Sadly, Shadow of War, the sequel to this game, does not continue this trend, or at least doesn't do it in a way that has the same feeling. But in order to see that, you're going to have to hit that subscribe button because that video is coming out later. Seamless plug. Check. All right, so once we clear the camp, we have to then follow Hirgon. No, I'm dead serious. That's what we have to do. And then guess what? We have to fight a tiny group of ghouls. When missions do a repetitive over and over again task thing, it really feels like time padding. Even if the developers did not intend it to feel like time padding, it is time padding because this is going on for way too long and we're doing the same exact tasks over and over again. They could have changed this up in any way, in a million different ways, but instead they said, let's just repeat the same thing we just did. Oh, it's so fun. Continuing to follow Hirgon, we follow him to the next encampment where we then need to clear it. Though this time, instead of it being Uruks, it's ghouls and Caragors that we need to kill. So at least it changed up the enemies, I guess. At least that's different. Yay. Don't worry, this mission does get good. It's just not good right now. Once we kill the ghouls and Caragors, we follow Hirgon to a large encampment. I'm going to call it a gate because essentially that's what it is. Once we beat this location, we then leave this location through said gate. So instead of calling it a camp, we'll call it a gate. Talion then has to clear out exactly 17 guards, not 16, not 18, exactly 17. There's literally no significance to this number or story impact. And hell, it doesn't even make what's happening in a minute any easier. It's just kill 17 orcs. Like, yay. I have a big problem when games just give you an arbitrary amount of things to do. Killing 17 orcs when in 10 seconds I'm going to be killing 200 orcs makes no difference. Instead, they should have had us like kill all the archers and there was no archers or any other variant. But instead, we're going to kill 17 orcs and then we're going to kill about 100 in about 10 seconds. Here, just watch. Kill all 17 guards and trigger a cutscene. Hold on. You'll see what I was talking about.
Everyone, to the monument!
I'll handle the Uruks. You handle the car with the explosives.
Once again, this would have been a perfect time for the outcast to have rushed in to help us push this cart towards said gate and monument. Saving all of them would have had a purpose and would have come in handy. and would have been a great way for us to be able to connect with the amount of us outcast rescue missions that are in this game. Though they do not, and they have no impact on the story at all, and do not help us, so basically, Talion once again does everything. Also, look at how many orcs we're killing. It's a good thing we eliminated 17 of them. And then, the only job that the outcasts were doing, we now do when we have to push the cart to the gate, while fighting off the archers that we could have taken out when we had to kill 17 guards, trying to burn all the cart. Why did we kill 17 guards? It takes so much impact out of this. It would have been so cool if they just made us push the cart. Okay, we're here. We push the cart. Okay, and now fight off everything. Okay. Instead, we kill 17 guards to then fight 300. And we do all this while Hirgon just yells at us, Talion, watch out for the archers. Talion, don't let the archers burn the cart. Talion, Talion, Talion. Why have other characters if we're going to do everything? It's a Call of Duty conundrum. In Call of Duty, you have all these badass operators that can't open doors. You have to open doors. They can't breach a building. You have to breach a building. They can't plant a bomb. You have to plant a bomb. It makes no sense to have these super cool fleshed out characters to then have them watch you do everything. And essentially that's what Hirgon's doing. And Gollum does. And later, the other characters do. Everyone just watches you do everything. Anyway, we pushed the cart to the gate and we triggered the cool cutscene. It is super cool mission, don't get me wrong. It's just, when you put arbitrary numbers on it, it takes any impact out of anything that follows it.
You have sealed their doom.
My people believe they have just claimed their freedom.
Is that what you told them?
Men need hope. I just gave them what they asked for.
Then your men need their leader.
See, I told you, a pretty cool mission outcome, right? The game does a great job of these big set piece battles. With battle scale and intensity, you really feel like you're down in the dirt. I did feel like I was down in the dirt during that mission. I was just upset that we killed 17 guards to have no absolute difference in the fight. I don't think those 17 guards would have made a difference in how that went down. I played other games where you think there's going to be a big battle with a big set piece, and there's not. Assassin's Creed's a great example of this. All the Assassin's Creed where you have to build an army just to, in the end, have no absolute outcome out of it. It's just simply you. At least here, you feel like you're in the battle. It's intense. It's in the mud. With the destruction of the monument, we now get a chance at redemption and vengeance. We get to lure out one of the Black Captains. To do this, we have to start at Hirgon's hideout, because for some reason we have to start there to run across the entire map.
Hold, brother. He wants the Grave Walker.
The Black Hand has come.
One of his minions. He was sent here to hunt us down. Let me gather my men.
The servants of Sauron are foes beyond any of you. Get your people out of Mordor tonight, or you'll all be dead by dawn.
There is a hidden tunnel to the Black Gate. Aaron, it's time. Goodbye, my friend.
So the local war chiefs did nothing to prevent this sacrilege?
They all perished in battle, my lord. All except me. War Chief Ratbag.
Fortunately, you are still alive.
Ratbag, no!
Now, bring me the head of this grave walker.
Claim the head yourself.
Ranger from the Black Gate. Where was your bravery when we bled your wife and gutted your son? Kill him!
I don't know how games and movies make music that makes you feel something in your body, but damn, when that camera panned to Talion, I was like, damn, that was hard. That was pretty hard. Time to fight the Black Hand. Though this fight is not hard, it's long because of how much health the Black Hand captain has. Now, I've said it before, and I'll say it again. Health should never be a difficulty setting. Difficulty should be based off of the game mechanics and skill, not how much damage a unit can take. And this unit can take a lot of damage. Even though this is supposed to be a big, bad Black Hand captain, the fight dissolves into get your hit streak up until you can do an execution, then do an execution on the Black Hand captain. It's either that or shoot him from range. It's kind of a letdown, to be honest. But luckily, there is more missions to come and 2 more Black Captains, so we will remain hopeful. We should not have remained hopeful. Another thing to note is that when you kill an Uruk captain and they do this close-up monologue thing before they die, it looks alright because they're an orc or auric. But with the humanoid face of the Black Hand captain, it looks odd and out of place, and even dated, to be honest.
How does your vengeance taste, Talion? Is not the darkness sweet?
You acted too hastily. There's much we could have learned.
He slaughtered my entire family before my very eyes. What would you have done?
Do you speak with the living? Or only with the dead?
Who are you?
My name is Lothariel, from the Sea of Nurnen. My mother said you would be here. And here you are.
Well, Lothariel from the Sea of Nurnen. You should have stayed where you were. There's nothing here but death.
Lady Marwyn, Queen of the Shore, wishes an audience with you. She has seen visions of your misfortune.
A queen who sees visions.
Visions of the return of the great Celebrimbor. She wishes to make him an offering.
And what is this offering?
That is all I know. I must gather provisions. The return to Nurnen is long and treacherous. My camp is close by. It will be my honor to escort you.
Kind of wish when we stabbed the Black Hand captain in the chest we had absorbed his power. That would have been really cool. Also, maybe Game of Thrones has ruined my imagination, but Lithriel looks like Daenerys. Or maybe that's just me. But when I see her, that's what my brain connects to. The next mission's cutscene starts in the middle. I don't know why, but you'll get the gist of it. Nothing really happened up until this point anyway.
His army will march all over Mordor, but a great power can be awakened to prevent it.
Is that why I'm here?
Breach into Morgoth's Scar. Take the elven craftwork from the ghouls and find
Stay strong, Mother. Come.
What is your mother's affliction?
No one knows. She worsened after her travels.
Is there no medicine?
There was, but our camp was overrun.
All right, so we're in a new area. It's much greener and more welcoming than the other area, but it's all absolutely just as deadly. We must hunt down and ambush an Uruk caravan. I feel this area is much more lived in, and it's nice that it's green and alive. It feels less close to death the entire time. Though, the only letdown is that we have to redo everything we just did up until this point, because they didn't change any of the structure between the last area and this area. So the exact same routine we did. I'll explain here in a second. We will have to rework our way through Saruman's army. We will have to climb the towers and re-expose the map. We will have to redo collectibles and complete Uruk's power struggles and get the missing pieces and find vision artifacts. It makes you feel kind of cheated, but at the same time excited that there's more to do, but at the same time you feel cheated because you just did all this and then you felt like you were getting close to the end and now you have to redo it. It's almost like it reset you. It put you right back at the beginning. That's the way it feels, at least. We find the caravan and we follow the ghouls' footprints because, like I said, it's just the same exact things over and over again, which will lead us to a cave that is very similar to the cave from earlier. So even without going into the cave, we know at the end of the cave, we will have to then escape from something and be chased by something or have to fight a massive thing, okay? While being attacked and while the cave crumbles. We can establish this as gamers before we ever entered the cave. You just know by how linear it is that we are going to be screwed. Also, Talion keeps noting, if I get stuck in here, we can use the fires to escape. Which literally means we're going to get stuck in here and we're going to have to use the fires to escape. At the back of the cave, we find another vision artifact that will unlock more of Celebrimbor's memories.
Made by the Dark Lord himself. And still covered in my family's blood.
We are betrayed. Its power blazes like a beacon, and will bring ruin to all Middle-earth.
Gondor! What is that creature?
Well, there's a lot to unpack there. It seems like Celebrimbor's wife sensed that these rings would change him and bring evil upon the world, but there's no way to know for sure because we got to find more vision artifacts to finish the story. But first, we must escape the cave while fighting, just like we figured we would have to at the beginning of the cave when we said we're probably going to have to escape this while fighting. While we escape, I want to ask a question. Why does it hurt Talion to relive Celebrimbor's memories? What is the significance of Talion being hurt by it? If you know, please let me know in the comments. I would love to know. That's a genuine question. As we escape the cave, we use our detonation skill to blow up the fire scattered around the cave, lit by the ghouls who hate the light, but then wanted fires for the plot devices. We will later learn that it wasn't the ghouls that said it, but that was my thought process when writing this, so that's what I'm going to share with you. I will always share my thoughts as I experience them with you guys. Just before we are overwhelmed at the entrance of the cave, we get a cutscene because all the cool stuff happens in the cutscene.
Pity to end your military career inside the belly of a ghoul, eh? I'm Torvin, the beast hunter. And I bet 10 pints you just nabbed the treasure I was after.
Now, I am grateful for the assistance, but it does not grant you proprietary rights.
Keep it! I just found something a lot more valuable.
And what would that be?
My new hunting partner!
What you hunt does not interest me, Master Dwarf.
Even if it leads you to the chisel that belongs with that hammer. Every creature's got its lure. Yours just happens to be very old. Well, if the thrill of the hunt takes your fancy, my camp's not far.
Find the dwarf.
We found the dwarf. The dwarf does all the hunting missions in Shadow of Mordor, though we will learn later why he hunts rather than does what dwarves normally do, which is kind of neat. It's a good way to build a character. All we need to know is that the dwarf becomes quickly one of my favorite characters, especially after we play the Lord of the Hunt DLC in my downloadable content or downloadable crap series. Videos coming soon. So subscribe if you want to know about that content as well. Seamless plug again. Before we continue with the main story, I ran around killing captains, weakening the army, and collecting the collectibles and doing the weapons challenges as I said I would. That way this area would be more complete so we can move on with the actual story missions. I also want to give some props where props are due. The music, voice acting, and graphics are really, really good in this game, especially the music. The music can make or break a game. Too intrusive and it breaks immersion. Not enough and it breaks immersion. Choose the wrong music and it can ruin a game. So props to the music team of Shadow of Mordor. A negative to the game is its repetitiveness. I spent hours doing collectible stuff and side missions and a few minutes of doing actual story missions. If you played just the story missions, you would be greatly disappointed at the actual game length. The main meat of this game actually comes from its side content, and that's not the way a game should be. A game's meat should be always the story, and then the side content should be just that, the sides. You never go to an all-you-can-eat buffet and go, I would rather an entire plate of corn over that big juicy steak. Well, unless you're a vegan or a vegetarian, and then you're probably going to say that. But I'm sure then you would be like, I don't want this entire bowl of corn over that juicy piece of celery. Steak. Another negative is that the game does nothing to attach you to the lore that happened before this. If you had never picked up a Lord of the Rings book and read it, or watched a movie, or played the MMO, or, had never referenced any Lord of the Rings stuff before, and you picked up this game, you would know nothing of what's going on. You wouldn't know who Gollum is, Celebrimbor. You wouldn't know what the significance of Mordor is. You wouldn't know why this guy made rings. You would have no attachment to anything that this game is offering you. The game has all this lore it could reference and build off of and does nothing with it. It has staple characters that are canon to the franchise, and they inserted another character that isn't canon to the franchise and just said, we're going to feed off the IP. It's a good game, but even I don't fully understand what I'm doing at this point. I know I'm helping Celebrimbor remember his memories of his family, and we're helping Talion get vengeance for his family. Other than that, I know nothing. Like, if I was looking at this from the outside, I wouldn't know who any of these characters are or what I'm doing or where I am at. Oh, but Mr. Flatface, the lore is in the collectibles you're finding. And yes, there is lore in the collectibles we're finding. But players aren't going to spend hours and hours running around collecting these pieces of lore and then reading the little monologue dump that it gives you if you're a normal player. I'm doing that, but I'm not about to explain literal years and hundreds of years of lore within the game to you. I'm trying to get you to look at it from a perspective of a new player, and a new player would have no idea what any of this is. What they should have done is had a long cutscene explaining the events leading up to the place and the time and story we are in. They don't have to give us like a giant background of Talion. They could have done exactly what they did, but they could have explained the significance of everything we have up to this point. Why did the orcs attack where Talion is? They never reference it. They never explain why Celebrimbor is the way Celebrimbor is, other than through this very long, drawn-out, quick cutscenes that we get. They never even explain what the rings are. Who is we are fighting? They don't even explain the importance of the rings. Hell, the importance of the rings in which Gollum seeks. Gollum's referencing it every single time we are with him, yet we don't even know why he wants it. Now, Talion might not be canon, but the things that he is referencing are canon. And we don't need to fully understand what Talion's motives are, but we do need to fully understand the lore behind what his motives are. Oh, that was quite a rant. As a person like myself who is not in a full understanding of what the Lord of the Rings is, this is a story of a man whose family was killed by Uruks, and then he was possessed by a wraith who at one point was a ringmaker, and we are now trying to be able to die. That is what I understand, taking the movies and the books away. That is what we are left with. Shadow of Mordor should not have relied so heavily on its IP and the fans of the IP, and tried to lure more fans in by making a game that makes sense to a brand new player and franchise joiner. They should have made the game make you want to be part of the franchise, not relying off on an entire franchise and then forcing you to understand the lore. There's things that are referenced that you literally would have to go read a book to understand. And what gamer is going to be like, well, I didn't understand that. Let's go read a 800-page book. There's a lot of lore, but very little explanation in what we're doing. And that was a very long way of saying that. Okay, let's move on. While we talked, we killed all of the non-mission related war chiefs and did all the treasures, finds, as well as most of the challenges for this area. And it took about 3 hours, so that's a total of 6 hours of filler side activity, hence why I don't show all of that. So let's get back to the main story quest, which is what we're all here for. Cutscenes and sweet, sweet story action. The next mission has us going back to the Queen of the Shore to get more information out of her and to see what she knows about the Wraith Celebrimbor.
Thank you.
I found the Mithril Hammer. Can your flames show me why my soul was denied death?
You are the victim of a blood sacrifice.
Can the curse be broken?
Destroy the Black Hand and his followers and claim Mordor.
No men of Gondor will come to my aid.
You don't need them. Your power begets followers, willing or otherwise.
An orc army.
How do I do this?
Your answers are in the fortress nearby, but what you seek may not be there for much longer.
All right, now we're talking. I'm down to build an orc army. This right here, this is what I remembered about Shadow of Mordor. Building an orc army. And up to this point, I actually thought I had played a different game. My brain was simply making me think that this was the game that we had built an army of orcs in. And because up to this point, we have never even referenced building an orc army. So I started to really question if this was the game I remembered. Maybe this was like the first game in a franchise and I had accidentally played the second one instead of the first one. But when I tell you, I was happy that I had not just wasted hours of my time playing an accidentally the wrong game. You need to understand, I was so happy. I don't even need to tell you. I was just happy, okay? I'm glad I didn't waste my time. Imagine if my whole rant about not understanding the lore was based off the fact that I started in the second game and not the first game. That would have been bad. While we make our way over to the sea fort, I want to note that now the game starts throwing in the don't get detected missions. Assassin's Creed Brotherhood did this too, at about the midpoint, and that's where we are right now. We're at the midpoint of the game. Instead of, making the end missions better, they instead put in a fail state, where if you get detected, you have to start over again, often leading to run back time, where you have to run back to the objective, or have to redo a bunch of the activities. Instead of adding variety, they just said, screw it, we'll make a fail save where if they accidentally do something wrong, they will have to restart everything they just did. Instead of bringing variety and substance to the game, they instead add these fail states to artificially lengthen the time of the game. As if they didn't have it, you might accidentally finish the game too fast. Luckily, in Shadow of War, this is not so much of an issue to work around. But like in Shadow of Mordor, it is a big issue. Every mission from now on will have this fail state. Sometimes we will fail, sometimes we won't. But every mission will have it. I just like to note everything that is good and bad about the game. That way you understand exactly where I am at the end when I give my little conclusions, paragraphs, and statements. Once at the sea fort, we get a cutscene.
It is not them we seek, but what they carry.
I will save them nonetheless.
Don't be blinded by your emotions.
The Queen told us our answers to building an orc army lie within this fortress.
If we brand those archers, we can build our army and save these men at the same time.
Once again, we are well into this game and we are still doing tutorials. As I said earlier, it takes away from the feeling of progression when we're constantly being reminded we are a small child and we are still learning. It feels like we're just still doing starter quests. We run around the fort dominating the archers to make them fight for us. At least if this is a starter quest, at least we're building an army now, right? Another thing the game does in the later half is add time limits to artificially make you feel pressure rather than just adding pressure. They just say, hey, there's a countdown timer now. Mario did it well because when you had a timer, it actually mattered. Here, it doesn't matter because they give you so much time that you end up leaving with ample time at the end anyway. It's a hollow feature because they give you way too much time anyway. Don't even think about it. I never thought about it again after writing this note. Throughout the entire playthrough, whenever there was a timer, I never even cared. Though I could see how in your first playthrough, you'd be like, oh my god, I gotta get this done. You don't have to. You have lots of time. Take your time. The only reason that this game took as long as it did for me was because of that failsafe of do not get detected. Because now all of a sudden these orcs will detect you for the slightest thing that you do out of the normal. They'll be like, oh, there he is. You could be just minding your own business, nowhere near him. They're like, there he is. Got him. And you'll have to restart. So really, the timer means nothing. It's just there for flashiness. The actual issue you're going to have is getting detected. I'm sure somebody out there is going to be like, oh, I did it my first try. That's great. Most people won't. And I wasn't one of them. Just annoying that in the second half of the game, they're like, hey, let's make a failsafe, add timers, and we'll call that game mechanic. It did nothing to improve the game. It just made the game annoying. Like, let's put it this way. For the first half of the game, we did it one way, and I'm going to explain that. In the second half, we're doing it another way. You tell me which way makes more sense. What's more believable? An orc sees you, they will attack you, and then kill you, or at least attempt to kill you. Or an orc sees you, and then lets you walk back to your starting position so you can restart doing everything you were doing. I would say the first one seems more believable because orcs always want to fight, which they did for the first half of the game. Second half of the game, you just restart. It's stupid. Once we dominate all of our archers, we then make our archers work for us by killing the orcs and turn them against their own people in the courtyard. This part is cool. Sadly, it doesn't really do what it's intended to do because it doesn't feel like they're making any impact as I still have to go slaughter about 40 orcs myself. Once all the orcs are dead, we then get, you guessed it, a cutscene. At least the cutscenes are good.
The Lady of the Shore send you to our aid. The Queen warned us to wait until the end of the battle. Then the orcs spotted us. I told you, the visions always come to pass. Yes, but I told you not to.
Do you have something for me?
Queen Marwen sent us to find this.
Celebrimbor is kind of insane. Like, his fighting, that is. Like, it's kind of neat. I hope we get to play with him. Spoilers, we do, and it's not what I thought it would be. We fight him in the Bright Lord DLC in my downloadable content or downloadable crap series. Subscribe if you want to see that. Seamless plug again. Well, it's not so seamless. I write the scripts. Now, this is where things start to get a little bit grindy. We just branded orcs. Then we killed a ton of orcs in the courtyard. We then get a cutscene, right? You're following me? Gotcha. Which we then watch together, me and you, right now. But then at the end of that cutscene, we have to kill 20 more orcs. Not 19, not 21. 20 more orcs for some reason. And yet again, the little guards that we just rescued did not help us. All right, let's nitpick. I know we nitpick a lot, but we're going to nitpick more, okay? Let's pretend for fun that the cutscene was real-world time for Talion and the guards, all right? They gave us the thing. We watched the cutscene. So in their world, Talion fell on the ground, right? And he's sitting on the ground. He's doing his, like, I don't know what he does when he falls on the ground. Those guards then leave, right? Those guards are not half man, half wraith. So they do not have super speed like Talion. Meaning at most, those guards are only, let's even give them a minute away. They would have seen 20 reinforcements of orcs coming, yelling and screaming towards Talion, right? And instead of staying to help Talion, who just saved them from being killed by orcs, they then proceeded to keep running away. It really shows how backstabby this world is. It's crazy that we just saved them. They just left us there for dead. We could have still been in a cutscene and gotten slaughtered by orcs that showed up. But no, it's a video game, so we woke up in time, okay? Plot convenience. Pointless rant aside, let's continue.
It is one thing to kill these Uruk. It is another to make them our followers.
It is a gift. We can use the weapon of the enemy against him.
What was nice to see is Talion challenged Celebrimbor by saying that he does not agree with forcing the orcs to work for them. He doesn't agree with manipulating their minds to become their slaves. We are starting to finally see the individual personalities of Celebrimbor and Talion. One, they might be both bonded by vengeance and getting back at the Black Hand for doing what they did to them and not allowing them to die. But at the same time, they're two very different personalities and both fighting for two very different things, which we'll learn about later. Well, correction, we'll actually learn about it in the next game, Shadow of War. But at right now, we'll just pretend like we knew that they are fighting for different things. The next mission has us return to the Queen of the Sea, or Queen Marwyn. Let's call her the Queen of the Sea.
Returned. You are not done yet.
How did you know where to find this?
He has shown me.
You haven't told me what you want in return.
Only that you learn what you are truly capable of. Find an orc leader, make him a war chief, and all his soldiers will be yours.
But where am I to lead this army of mine?
Bring them to me, and I will show you.
Okay, so that lady is low-key creepy. Straight up. We are basically doing the same thing as we did with Ratbag, but without Ratbag. Instead, we are just going to dominate our way up the Uruk ranks. It may be the same, but it's at least different, he says sarcastically. We start by tracking down Grublik. This isn't hard. He's hanging out with about 20 other orcs, so we simply kill all the minion orcs under his control, and then we dominate him. Once we dominate him, he will give us some information on other captains or war chiefs, whatever we pick, and then he will be part of our army. But a captain by itself is useless, so we have to make him a bodyguard of a war chief so he can betray that war chief for us. We do this by creating power struggles between our captain and one of the orcs' captains. Before every power struggle, even the one before this one, there is like this super bad cutscene where the two orcs talk to each other and trash talk a bit. It's super boring and kind of cringy, and especially when you have to do it so many times. Like, you guys will only see it this one time, but I have to see it a lot. There's a lot of power struggles and trials to do, and when you have to watch this every single time, it kind of becomes a constant intrusion into the game and your immersion. Like I said, there's a lot, and I'm only showing you guys this one.
Stand with me, or suffer under me. Go away, I serve another.
We help our Urk captain kill the war chief's bodyguard. It kind of seems dishonorable to do it this way, but we must do it to progress the story, so we will do it. So, we are not done yet. We have to continue to fight off challenges of Grublik's captainhood. We do this a total of 3 times because the same is different and repetitive is fun. Once we defeat the 3 groups of challengers to Grublik's captainhood, we then have to go to the vantage point for some reason within the fortress. Oh, and of course, the stipulation is we cannot be detected or we will have to restart because that is apparently our new standard. Once at the vantage point, the war chief will arrive. Music starts chanting his name, and he walks slowly and menacingly through the fortress while we stand way above him. So now that the war chief has arrived, we have to Grublik defeat him. It's not hard to do. What we have done all game is absolutely going to work here because we have destroyed a ton of orcs and war chiefs already, so this really has no weight to it. All I kept thinking the whole time I'm fighting him is this is a potential member of our army and we're just going to kill him off, simply to promote another person into his spot rather than just, you know, having 2 orcs. I don't know, maybe I'm just overthinking it at this point. After all the fighting, Talion will suggest returning to the queen and cueing a cutscene to start. We have that power as well, people.
Together we can be invincible. The Dark Lords are still weak. Our army can destroy you. Mother!
Break the staff.
My child?
Your mother. He's been under the spell of a very powerful wizard.
Talion, I am sorry. Saruman brought you here against my will. I went to him for help. I ended up being a prisoner within my own body.
What have you seen in your visions?
I have seen Sauron's servants, the tower, and the Black Hand. They bring much suffering. If you wish to know where they are across the Sea of Nurnen.
Their forces. How strong?
Strong enough to defeat us all.
Then we truly will need an army.
Illness still plagues you. Rest, Mother. I will make preparations for our journey out of Mordor.
Ah, so the old queen is actually a young queen. Damn, didn't see that coming. Okay, so this is literally like the 3rd mission in a row where the final cutscene says that we need to build an army. I'm guessing the writing guy got tired and just decided to say the same thing 3 times in a row, but I guess we're going to build an army. We just started with Grublik. The storytelling is really good, but like I said before, I so wish it had included more of the actual lore of Lord of the Rings, at least to connect us more to like the overarching lore rather than just this specific game. It would have been, that's all I'm saying. Our next mission has us looking to cure Queen Marwyn after her possession from Saruman. I guess she's kind of like got some sort of like ghostly possession STI or something. I don't know. We'll find her cure.
I don't care of the risks. It's for the well-being of the Queen.
Lady, this does not
Attacking the camp would be ill-advised.
He's on our side. I have no choice, Talion. I need my mother's elixir.
Even the stranger says this is a fool's errand.
I know who she reminds you of, Talion. She is of this world. You are not.
Enough! We attack as planned.
I will take care of the orcs. We could
follow behind unseen.
We get the medicine, and we leave.
All right, so we get to clear some orcs for the daughter. It's fairly simple, minus the fact that we still have that don't get detected fail state, and on top of it, we get our first major bug, which absolutely breaks the game. We clear the camp, but for some reason, in the pen zone, we cannot clear it, even though there's nothing here. My best guess would be that one of the orcs we needed to brand fell through the map or clipped into one of the boxes or maybe the wall. I tried everything. I tried shooting bait to lure it out by having Karagor show up. I tried just spamming things around. I tried triggering the camp. Nothing got this orc to come out. So we literally had to restart. So even though I have to restart without wasting your time, we're just going to skip to the part where we cleared all the camp.
Did you find what you needed?
Yes. Take this to the Queen immediately.
I doubt any medicine of men will cure our queen.
Let's hope that it heals your mother.
We found this message. Orc leaders plan a gathering by the fishing village. We can prepare an ambush. I owe you a great thanks.
I'm glad to be of assistance.
We're lucky to have you.
These are not your people, Talion. Remember your wife and son.
Well, I mustn't keep you.
Yes. Every moment is precious.
Why is Celebrimbor such a Debbie Downer? Like, let Talion be friends with the lady. Why does he just constantly have to tell him he's dead? Or that he will die if Celebrimbor leaves him? Just let him be who he is, there, Celebrimbor. Jeez. I want to point out that if it wasn't for that glitch, this mission would have only taken a minute. Even with that glitch and having to rewatch the cutscene, replay through all what we did, it still only took 10 minutes total time with glitch. It just goes to show that the time padding has been done by the fail states and the random time limit and the detection meter, not by difficulty. If you don't trigger the difficulty setting, which is the fail state, then the missions are insanely short and you don't even need to worry about anything. They went for quantity over substance. It's just a little bit of a letdown, that's all. We did a mission with Torvin where we learned how to mount a Karagor, but it was incredibly boring and I've already wasted your time enough, so I didn't record it for you. Well, I did record it, I just didn't show you. Oh, by the way, Torvin's the dwarf, just so you guys know. In case you guys forgot. Another thing that this game doesn't really do that well is once you complete a set storyline, remember when we were working with Gollum? We never see Gollum again until the end of the game. Remember when we were working with Horgon? We never see him again. You do all these missions with these characters and then it just cuts it off. You just never see them again. For instance, we're going to do all Torvin's missions in a row and then we will not see him again. Same with the Queen of the Sea. Same with the Princess. They give you a character, you work with them, then they just go away. There's nothing else after that.
Actually, I have a few of my own.
Oh, I'll bet. What type of battle scars did you get from the Black Gate, eh? Splinters? Oh, or did you scar your voice telling your soldiers to head into battle?
Tread lightly. My scars run very deep.
Huh. The mighty Graug. You give me these. And he also took my hunting partner.
So, what now?
Well, another lesson for you, my captain. Maybe you'll even come out of this one unscarred.
All right, so the mission that we're doing now, we are following Torvin as he talks of a Grog who had killed his hunting partner. This section is still a tutorial on how to kill things. They just tied it to a mission with a dwarf. That's the difference here. The mission here is to sneak up on the Grog and cut its heel. It took a few tries to get close enough to the Grog without detection to cut its heel. As I said, every mission in this end game has a fail state of do not get detected. But at least in this one, it makes sense because if we got detected by this thing, we're going to get screwed up. Even when it comes to hunting giant stupid Grogs, we will have this fail state. But at least with the Grog, like I said, it makes sense. Though we failed an uncanny amount of times because this Grog sensitivity is incredible. This thing knows exactly where you are if you slightly move out of context. Eventually, we do cut its big stupid ankle. We then get tasked with mounting a Karagor because that's every single mission with Torvin. While the Grog chases us. It sounds way cooler than it actually was. You have to battle these stupid Caragors and get them close enough to mount while avoiding the Grog, which does massive damage, and the Caragors want to go fight instead. It's this weird balancing act, but eventually, we do get it done. After what took like way too long, mostly on my end, we finally mount a Caragor and lead the Grog towards Torvin. Torvin will then do all the cool stuff that you wish you could do in a cutscene. The final step is just to attack the Grog until it dies. We simply mount the Grog and do a quick time event. And I just say, I have never done a quick time event that felt as good as God of War. And that's the standard I've set for quick time events to this day. And if they don't meet that expectation, then I tell them that they should not do quick time events. And that's what Shadow of Mordor should have done. No quick time events. They're easy, annoying, and pointless. Once we mount the Grog, instead of killing it, like I thought we were going to do, we end up having to fight a massive hunting party of orcs that came out of nowhere to attack the Grog. It just seems like we would have heard them coming. And why they waited for us to do all the work in the first place makes no sense to me. Because now they have to deal with the Grave Walker, Torvin, and a giant Grog, rather than just a Grog. Once we kill the hunting party and kill the Grog, it ends the mission. There's nothing more to that. It's just, it ends the mission.
Say, it's a wee bit unusual to ride the ground.
Anything like a little improvising, eh?
All right, Captain. That's it. You showed instinct, gumption, respect. Training's over. Got guts. Let's go spill some, eh?
I like Torvin. He's well written, well voice acted, and as you see later in our playthrough of the Lord of the Hunt DLC, he brings some good mechanics to the game. Better mechanics than what we have right now, to be honest. I also have never played a game where I've enjoyed mounted combat. Not in a car in GTA, not on a horse in Red Dead Redemption, and definitely not on a Caragor or a Grog. I only say this because if you hear me sour on a mission that is mounted, you will know it's a me problem, not a game problem. But I share my thoughts as I play the game, not my problems as I play the game. That way you always know what I'm thinking, when I'm thinking, and how I'm thinking it. Also, we are still doing tutorials, and we are very, very close to the end game, just so you guys know. We have to build an army, right? Build an army, we first must have to dominate captains. Once we brand captains, we then have to get them into positions of the war chief. To this, we have to die. Dying is the fastest way to get your branded captains promoted to war chief, because we already killed the war chiefs. So, we must die. So, we let ourselves die, and our own captains actually do get promoted to war chief. He just saved you a ton of time and ton of work. Can we just take a minute to listen to this orc laugh? It literally makes me cringe. If you follow me on TikTok or watch my YouTube shorts, you've already seen this orc, but it still makes me cringe. Now, that we have 5 war chiefs, it's time to carry on with the story missions. Getting war chiefs took about an hour, and really can be done faster if you don't kill the entire army first. But what can I say? I like to fight Urks and orcs. I have a problem. Continuing with our story missions, we go meet up with our favorite dwarf, Torvin, to do some more hunting.
Heads up, Captain! Time to go hunting!
You will never guess what we have to do. We have to tame yet another steroid cat. Once we have done this for the 108th time, we can carry on with our adventure with our very big personality and a tiny little package friend, Torvin. This mission has us fighting the Great White Grog, the very Grog that Torvin has been hunting for the last 2 years, and the very Grog that killed Torvin's hunting partner. As we journey to the location of the Grog, Torvin will tell the story of how he had been hunting with the Grog 2 years ago and had got stuck under his legs for 2 days. And when he finally came to, his partner had been eaten. I bet a dwarf is like a chicken nugget to a Grog. Oh, we get to the cave. There's a cutscene. Of course there's a cutscene.
Whoa! The Caragors are too quiet. I don't think the Grog is home.
Then we go in and we wait.
Ambush? How military. I like it.
It's an axe.
That's just as sharp as the day our father made it.
The odds of Torvin finding his partner's, well, now we know his brother's axe, is pretty good luck. And the fact that we also found a vision artifact is even more impressive luck. Now that the Grog is here, we get to fight him. It sounds so cool, but it's simply dodge the Grog when it charges you, and then it'll run into a wall. It'll then stun itself, and then you will then attack its ankle. Fun, right? And then eventually, you'll do the animation, and you'll keep repeating these steps. Well, wait, one more thing. After every successful attack, the ghouls will come out and charge the Grog. What they are really doing is extending the mission by feeding the Grog and healing it, meaning that the Grog will heal after every single successful attack you do. If you're fast enough, you can kill the ghouls before they get to the Grog, which then just elongates the time that you're playing this mission. Depending on how well you do at killing the ghouls before they get to the Grog, preventing the Grog from healing, which he does through eating, will dictate how long this mission takes. The Grog poses little threat to you as long as you avoid its charge and dodge it when it gets close to you. And then when you're using your range attacks, don't worry about arrows because there's 400 million of them around the map. So it's actually no challenge at all. It's actually kind of pathetic. Once you have done all the work, because that's the way video games work, Torvin will wake from his slumber after being slammed into a wall and do all the cool actiony stuff that you wish you had done this entire fight in a cutscene because, yeah. And with that, we have avenged our stout friend and his fallen brother. And with that, we will also never see Torvin again until we play the Lord of the Hunt DLC. So say your goodbyes now.
I think he's dead.
Well, that's what I call beast hunting, eh?
Indeed, indeed.
Next time I'm not gonna let you have all the fun.
Oh, no, no. This is the last time. I have other prey to pursue.
Well, you need help on your journey, so what do you say? We put some
No,
shadows up-
Torvin. I have to do this on my own.
If you survive, come to the Blue Mountains, eh? I've lots of friends that will drink until their kegs run dry.
I've seen how much a dwarf can drink. I do hope our paths cross again.
Right. Now how do I get you out of here?
Our Our next mission has us return to the orc camp that's on the side of the crashing ocean, along the side of a cliff. It's actually just a fishing dock. I just like to make it sound cooler than it is. As I said earlier, the game does a great job of reusing locations. We've already been here a few times in our side missions, so we already know what this layout is. We've explored it in the game, and it's allowing us to make connections to these places, which is cool. Though I am happy to return to the orc camp, I am not happy to be re-rescuing the queen's daughter, who I've literally rescued every mission, or at least helped her in some way. But she yet again has gotten herself captured. Oh, let's go free her. By the way, this is endgame content we're here. It just feels like a bunch of little missions strung along to get us to the Black Hand. There's no significant value to either any of these missions or impact, but we are going to have a really cool thing happen here.
Such a shame. If you truly know nothing, then you're of no use to me. When you're done with her, hang her high. Make sure the Grave Walker can find her.
You aren't going anywhere, Slack. Tell us where he's hiding and we'll kill you quick. Now we kill you slowly, just how I like it.
This is a short mission, less than 10 minutes total time. So sadly, other than connecting us to one of the Black Hand captains, it provides little to no substance to the actual story, as I just said. Though I will say that the princess has been written very strong-willed, and you can tell that by the way she acts. So they did a very good job of doing that. We have to brand 6 enemies while not raising the alarm. Why? Because failed states make great gameplay. But there's a twist to this one, so I'm not going to complain too much. Once we brand our 6 randomly chosen orcs within the arbitrary amount of time, we then move towards the saving Lathril, the princess. Getting close to her will trigger a cutscene because everything happens in a freaking cutscene in this game.
Maybe if we make her bleed a little, she'll start talking. Down on her knees.
Kill the orcs interrogating the princess and then help her out of the stronghold. It is straightforward, ladies and gentlemen. This is endgame content. Now here is where this mission becomes super cool, and we needed this more in the game itself. As we help the princess out of the camp, the orcs that we branded will join us in providing cover and backup as we move. They will literally come out and help us fight off their fellow comrades. At no point during the game other than this mission do the orcs do this. You can brand 1,000,000 archers and somehow they always just disappear before you need them, or they won't help you at all. You'll trigger them and they'll shoot like 2 arrows and then go away. So this is really, really cool, and I love this part. It's so cool to see these orcs with us as we work our way out of the camp. I mean, the way they show up just as we're getting pinned down and they just kind of come in and just take out whatever remaining. The way they charge at the foes while we carry the broken princess with us. It's really, really cool. I mean, we have branded hundreds of orcs up to this point and never had this outcome. So this was like super unexpected. I just thought it was just going to be like a random failsafe. Do the 6 orcs and then blah, blah, blah. No, this actually has an actual purpose, which is amazing. If this had been in the entire game, this game would have been insane. Imagine branding a bunch of orcs out in the wild and then walking through a camp just like this and fighting off hordes of enemies. It would have been amazing. And sadly, Shadow of War, the sequel game, tried to do that, but it didn't have the impact that this one mission had. Shadow of War felt like I was always missing something because I didn't pay for my orcs. I just used the ones that were out in the world. But we will get into that when we do our review / playthrough breakthrough of Shadow of War in the As I Remembered series. This mission, though, was so cool, and it makes all our grinding up to this point worth it. I had so much fun in this one. Once the branded orcs help us out of the camp, we then get a cutscene. We are like literally at endgame right now.
Here, rest here.
Why are you doing this?
To stop the bleeding.
No. Why did you come back to save me?
I had a family once. A wife. And a son. And I buried them along with everyone I ever knew.
Stay with us. My mother can help you.
I can't. I don't belong here.
You will be a champion to my people.
Over there!
and you walk on your own.
Is that your answer?
Milady!
Help her.
Let me help.
You need to leave this place immediately. It's not safe.
Thank you, Ranger.
Now that the mission's done, the game wanted us to brand 5 war chiefs. But we already did that, so we immediately get to go on to the next mission. See, preparation is key. We just saved ourselves a ton of time. This is the endgame content. Our next mission is titled The Lord of Mordor. It's the second to last mission. So if you have stayed this long, please like, comment, and consider subscribing, as well as follow my TikTok where I post short form funny gaming content. And you're already here, so you might as well go see what I got in YouTube Shorts. All right, let's get into it. 2 more missions to go, ladies and gentlemen.
We wish to thank you for coming to our aid, Captain.
Aye. Never realized my smuggling could be so appreciated by the Queen. Lady.
They're here.
Orcs. They make bad passengers. But I've carried worse. Lady. Keep that plank level. Oi, touch nothing.
Queen Mao. It's good to see you in better health.
The boats are ready. The skippers have been briefed on your destination.
Good.
How long will those orcs obey you?
Well, I should think as long as I like. I'm in your debt.
We owe you our lives, Talion.
Just put an end to this madness.
My lady.
Burn. Maim. Kill them all!
Drown the air with Uruk cries and the earth with Uruk blood!
That may have been a long cutscene, but they are so beautiful, I don't even mind. It's like watching a movie every time. Okay, a lot to go over while we fight our way inside. The game does an amazing job of making you feel like you're on the battlefield. You got Uruks clashing with enemy Uruks, the screams of pain from falling Uruks, the sheer crowd of enemies clashing, and you feel kind of trapped. It reminds me of a scene from Game of Thrones where the guy gets trapped into the old bodies and he's reaching out and he's trying to get out. That's how you feel when you're in here. You feel like you're going to be overwhelmed, and that's really good. We fight our way into the fortress and find the Black Hand Captain. Well, it's actually the tower. That's what he's called.
I wasn't expecting you. I hope my soldiers gave you welcome.
Where are you? Show yourself!
This is the work of the tower. The Black Hand went looking for you. But it will give me great pleasure to take you myself.
bow to me. And I will deliver you to the Dark Lord, unspoiled.
We bow to no one.
The Dark Lord forgives you, Celebrimbor. Return to him and cast off this human corpse.
Stand up and fight.
There's no need, Ranger. Celebrimbor is your curse. He chose you.
Silence!
And he can release you at any time. Yes, that's all you are, Ranger. A vessel for the Ringmaker. As you wish.
Like, come on. These cutscenes are so good. And if you've played this game before, then you know why I'm going to be so sad soon. But that was like... Okay, now that we're fighting the tower, here are my thoughts before I failed and learned what I actually have to do. This is what I thought I was going to be doing. I thought this was going to be a long, drawn-out, epic fight between us and the tower, okay? I thought this would be like Elden Ring level combat. Not like in the sense of Elden Ring, but like harder than any of the other bosses and or orcs that we have fought up to this point. I thought it would have been an epic boss battle. I thought so many things, and I was let down so badly. I did fail here, but it's only because I didn't understand what we were doing. Once I figured it out, which I'm going to explain, it was easy. The battle between Talion, Celebrimbor, and the tower, one of the people that we've been working towards fighting the entire game, consists of us, wait for it, sneaking up to the tower while he monologue dumps in stealth and draining him until eventually we drain him enough that we get a cutscene where we kill him in a cutscene, because that's what we do in this game. We just link cutscenes together. This is the second to last boss that we are going to fight. We literally go from this to the final boss. And this is the level of battle we got. We drained him. Oh, we hit B. Moving on.
You will never see your family again. The dead.
You said we were cursed. You deceived me.
It was Sauron's doing.
This was your doing! I should have died with my family.
I thought you wanted revenge. I can't leave you. But there is only one way to close the circle. The Black Hand remains.
Not for long.
It's a little underwhelming, isn't it? But we still have one more captain to fight. The literal last one, the final one, the big boss man. We gotta go fight him, so let's hope that he's better. All right, let's go.
I am not worth your vengeance, Father. Why do you fight?
We will be together soon. Forever.
Soon, Celebrimbor. Soon.
Nasty beasts. We want this. But we took it from them.
I love how Gollum just shows up conveniently with a plot-driven item. Amazing.
Ishi Krimpatul.
It was mine to keep.
Where did they hide it? Where?
Be gone.
The precious is ours. Ours!
Sauron knows we're here. Let's not keep him waiting.
Once again, we work our way across the battlefield, drenched in blood and scarred with fire. On one side, we got a bunch of Uruk war chiefs, and on the other side, are Uruk war chiefs. One side will walk away, and the other side will be left buried in the ashes of the great Mordor volcano. Our side will walk away, but you get the point. Trying to paint a picture here. Talion fights his way through the hordes of enemies, his branded Uruks on his flank, until we reach the wall. As I already said, the battle scaling in this game is incredible. You feel the tension, you feel the struggle, you feel the chaos, you feel the power that you have gained throughout this entire game. We inch our way to the wall. We get to the wall. We climb the wall ever closer to fighting the final Black Captain. We are coming for you. We are Talion and Celebrimbor. We shall rule the world. Let's watch a cutscene.
I have a gift for you, Celebrimbor.
Well, that explains what happened to Celebrimbor's face.
The Dark Lord gave you a second chance to stand by his side. Now I give you no choice. We shall be sealed together in death.
So be it.
Return to me.
Here is where the game let me down immensely. The final boss is literally a quick time event that you would have to try immensely hard at to lose. Like, that was what we just spent hours building up to. You literally just saw it. That was it. That was the final boss fight. I don't know what to say. Like, that was it, guys. That's the end of the game. Like, we're done. Like, now you guys get to hear my conclusion to this. And I'm going to tell you right now, neither of the DLCs build off that. In the Lord of the Hunt, we go play with Torvin and we help do some stuff for him. And then we play as Celebrimbor before the events of this game. So we will be playing him, but that's it. That is the end of this game. You just saw it, a quick time event. We hit like 2 buttons. Woo!
The Black Hand of Sauron is dead. The Hither Shore is calling us.
This is no longer our battle. I tried fighting you. It can't be done. Could you really rest for all of eternity, knowing that you had the chance to stop him, but did nothing? The time has come for a new ring.
We literally worked all game, hours and hours, to watch a cutscene where all the stuff we wanted to do happened in the cutscene. Hell, even all the cool stuff we could have done in the QuickTime event happened in the cutscene. Like, oh my. Back at the beginning, I said I remembered the game let me down, and that's why this ending has stuck with me for all these years. I really enjoyed the game back when it came out. I enjoyed the game now. I might have complained, but I'm letting you know my thoughts along the way. It has a great set pieces, a beautiful story, amazing graphics when it comes to the cutscenes. Yes, they're dated now, but back when it came out, these were top notch. But then the final boss ends in a QuickTime event. Not even a good QuickTime event. We did nothing. They could have not given us any inputs and it would have had the same outcome. There are major negatives in this game. There is no lore build-up to what we're doing. There's almost no tie-in other than loosely throwing in Gollum and throwing in the Queen and throwing in Torvin and throwing in all the things that hit the Lord of the Rings spots. The orc conversations before every fight are brutal. When they charge at you and then just click their teeth for an awkward amount of time, it's brutal. The fail states in the second half of the game are brutal. But with all that negative, you get the beauty of the game. You get the story of the game. You link yourself to Talion, who isn't even a part of the franchise, but should be. He's amazing. You get this amazing story arc when you actually sit back and think of the actual progression throughout the game and take out all the filler stuff. The game is so good and so bad at the same time. I absolutely loved the Middle-earth franchise. Though I only dabble in the Lord of the Rings itself as a franchise, I love the Middle-earth Shadow of Mordor, and I love the Shadow of War. I also didn't mind the DLCs. I didn't play the DLCs when they originally came out, hence why they're part of a different series, but I did enjoy the DLCs. This is one of my favorite games, and I'm happy that we got to record it as much as I'm let down by the end of the game. I am happy you have stayed this entire time, and I'm truly grateful to have shared one of my memories with you, one of my favorite games with you. We will be playing through the DLCs of the Shadow of Mordor, so stay tuned for that. And we'll also be playing through Shadow of War and its DLCs. There's also Lord of the Rings MMORPG that I would like to do a episodic form series with you guys. If any of this sounds up your alley, then please subscribe to be informed of when these videos are released. And please leave a like and comment so I know that you guys enjoyed this video. Now, in the As I Remembered series, we always break down what my thoughts are of the game. My thoughts are of the game, it's exactly as I remembered it. Every single good and bad thing I remembered. It wasn't any different than what my memory had remembered. I know that sounds like a confusing sentence, but sometimes your memory can put, let's say, a rose color over it. You might remember a favorite food. Oh, I love it. I've never had spaghetti in all my life. I had it one time when I was 8 and I've loved it ever since. Then you go eating spaghetti and you're like, oh, it's actually not that good. Why do I remember it so good? It's because your brain makes you think that you like something. I was in the military and I have so many good memories of basic training. But what my brain fails to remind me of is all the terrible memories of basic training. Basic training is basically getting screamed at for 14 weeks straight and then having like 1 or 2 good moments in between. Your brain remembers those good moments, not all the negative. So when I look back and I think of Shadow of Mordor, I think of those good memories. I didn't remember the clicking of the orcs. I didn't remember the absolute slogfest the second half is. And I didn't remember all the repetitive steps. I only remembered the really good parts, which is a good thing. Though the ending did stick with me, and I referenced that at the beginning of the game. And I've talked about that ending many, many times when I've been talking to my friends about video games and how sometimes games are a letdown. Shadow of Mordor does a great story, has a great story arc, has great characters and great character building. And it then completely lets you down at the final state. But it's exactly as I remembered it. Shadow of Mordor was exactly how I remembered it. And I'm so happy to have been able to share this with you. I will happily play through it again. And I look forward to playing it again in a few years. And maybe sitting down and replaying the game and looking back on these memories that I have formed now and seeing if I still match up to the same thing. It would be absolutely fascinating to see if when I write my script in, let's say, 5 years, I have the same outcome or different outcome. Maybe I enjoy the clicking of the orc's teeth, or maybe I like it when they talk. We'll see what happens in 5 years' time. Until then, I have been your host, Mr. Flatface, the man of many faces and even more opinions, and this was my breakdown of Middle-of-Earth Shadow of Mordor, and I am happy to say it was exactly as I remembered it. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Until next time, guys, have a great one. Bye.